Today I'm interviewing Brett Rogers, who is from Texas, my second adopted state. And Brett, the question that I would ask, how did you get involved in the political arena?
Oh Lord. Well, 2 decades ago, I first got wind of something called pork busters, which was an effort to try to get pork barrel spending out of Congress. And anyway, I started really paying attention to a lot of politics, both national and local. And I lived in Iowa at the time. And then accelerate forward because I had a background in data. I've been in the IT business for 30 years and strategic marketing for 35 years. Because of that, I started working with some campaigns to help them. And then when the Tea Party movement started, I was one of the 4 people who helped start the Tea Party movement there in central Iowa. And anyway, from there forward, then I've been very invested in this whole thing.
Would it be fair to say that you weren't woke, but you were awake?
Well, I was paying attention, and certainly that.
Yeah. And so few people do that, and they reap the benefits of sitting on the couch and having mom hand them another Coke and a bag of chips. You know, there's a lot smarter guy than me that says if you're not involved, you're going to let yourself be ruled by other people. So
Yeah.
I don't prescribe to that. So I'm like you. I'm awakened and I'm involved. Outside of the training that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, and the goal is to win, what
Mhm.
other things are you involved in right now that would help the general population understand what you do and who you are?
Sure. So once I got to Texas back in 2012, I started working with campaigns across Texas. And because I have a background in IT, I do a lot of things to kind of help get out the vote, certainly work with that and help people manage that. So I've created something called the Voters Platform, which has a very simple idea. And it's the idea that come election time, if we have early voting period, then after early voting, if you've found all the people that you know who are registered voters and you know who hasn't voted among that pool, then you go and push those people out. Anyway, one campaign that used this tool, I had 30 counties and 30 counties and campaigns across Texas that were using it this last primary. Anyway, one of those was Andy Hopper's campaign. His campaign had, for the people who were using this tool I created, had greater than an 86% turnout among their people. And that was in not a primary, but the runoff itself. You don't hear of an 86% turnout in a
Wow.
runoff. And
No,
so,
we characteristically have about 12, 14% participation in any election if it's
correct.
not a presidential, a
So,
business.
so that tool there, and then I work a lot not only on organization, but I also work a lot on transparency work. So, with the Texas legislature, we have a really terrific website when compared to other states that's available from the Texas legislature called the TLO, Texas Legislature Online. There, you can get all of the data about what the activities are, the votes, the meetings, the people who testified in front of committees. You can get all of that data from there. The problem is they don't connect the dots. What I did was I took all that data because I wrote bots that scrubbed the website, pulled it into my own database, and then created something called grassrootspriorities.com. And I did that for an organization called Grassroots America, We the People here in Texas. And then having taken all of that data, it then connects those dots. So, for example, when you look at a journal that they have or a record of what the vote was, it's hard to see the Republicans and the Democrats. Well, I decided to color code the vote. So you can see the Democrats in blue and the Republicans in red. And when our Republicans are voting with the Democrats, there's this red guy swimming in a sea of blue. And it visually for the person, then it makes it easy for them to see that their incumbent, who they think is Republican, might not be as Republican as they thought they were when they see them in a bunch of votes where they're swimming in a sea of blue.
That's absolutely beneficial to the people if they will avail themselves of that too. I've gone to your website and I've looked at the work you do, and I wish that I had the talent. And secondarily, I wish I had a website from Tennessee that would give us that same data that you take then and parse out and make it do what you need it to. They're very secretive here. We just now started in our House committees getting recorded votes. Up until this point, it's always just been voice vote, and you had to say I'm either for or against if you wanted to be
Mhm.
counted. And so that's how they kill bills in the Tennessee legislature, is they just roll them down. The committee chair can say bill passed or bill failed, and that's it, and there's nothing anybody can do.
Well, can I tell you a secret?
Sure.
I built the framework for this so that it's multi-state capable.
Well, we need to talk after this interview some more about that. That's for sure. Now let's get to the thing. We're bringing you in to West Tennessee to help us to understand your goal is to win your book.
Yeah,
You've seen I have purchased that a number of times and sent it to candidates. Yes, it across the board, I think it is absolutely beneficial. When I first read that, I spent more yellow highlighter ink on that book than anything else I've done in a long time. So then I started buying it and sending it to people that I wanted to see. And I've shared my copy with a number of folks because I was, here's the important stuff. And they go, but it's all pretty much yellow. Right. Read it all. Tell me if you can give me the nickel tour of what it is and then possibly a situation where it has been used to the people's benefit.
sure. So I've worked over 100 campaigns across all the time I've been in politics, and really, you know what we don't do as a party of people who are supposedly business leaders, professionals, and everything else. In every corporate setting, whenever you have a large project, what you never have is the lessons learned in the GOP, right? But you have those in the corporate setting. You don't have those in the GOP. So after an election, you don't see the Republican Party get together and do a lessons learned on what we did right, what we did wrong, what we could do better. So I've done that though. After like for example in 2016 and 2024, I sent out a survey to all the grassroots challengers to Republican incumbents in our Texas House and asked them a series of questions and then got that answer back from them. And anyway, very enlightening, but also working with the campaigns themselves. So I took all the things that I've learned, the best practices across the years, from losing campaigns, from winning campaigns, and just being involved and working with great folks who had terrific ideas. I put all of those inside of this book. The idea was, and it's a very simple idea. Like, for example, in the Revolutionary War, when our soldiers stepped forward, they were farmers and blacksmiths. They didn't know what they were doing. And so, for the first 9 months of the war, they were getting kicked until this guy named von Steuben came across the pond, joined us over here with Washington, and started teaching our troops the discipline and training they needed to win. And spoiler alert, we won. So as a result of that training and discipline, now we need that within our own grassroots, because this is a war just like it was then, just it's fought with ballots, not with bullets. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that our people, our grassroots people, and our candidates are properly trained in how to go up against the professional establishment machine, just like they had to go up against the professional established British Army back then. And by doing that, when they read the book like you did, it brings them a series of very practical, easy to do, oh my goodness, why didn't anybody tell me this kind of before kind of a thing. And again, it's not just me, it's just collecting all of these things across the years and putting them together in a quick, easy to read book. It's like 160 pages. But in fact, I had a guy last week tell me that this book is the perfect bathroom read.
Yeah, I would
The
agree.
chapters are short and easy to read. So, but the point is that if you take those things and you put those together and you put those in front of people, it makes it so that they know that there's something they can do to actually win. And there was a terrific thing that just happened in the latest municipal elections here in Texas.
Can you give us a for instance of a specific group or campaign that you've applied this to that's been successful?
Yeah. So two friends of mine, Dennis and Sherry London, they not only reviewed the book before I published it, and then gave me some great edits, but also when the book was released, they bought 20 copies. This was last October. And after they bought the book, this is in Rockwall County here in Texas. And so after that, they had municipal elections coming up in May. They wanted to make sure that their candidates won. So they bought the book. They hired, or they didn't hire. They brought me into their county to go ahead and do the seminar with them that I'm going to do in Tennessee. And they had me do that back in January. So October the books, January the seminar, and then fast forward to May. They did everything right. They did everything I coached in the book. They had terrific candidates who were well prepared. The grassroots themselves were well organized. By the time they got to the May elections, across the state of Texas, when you went on social media the next day after the election, you saw how it was a conservative bloodbath across Texas. All of our conservative people, everybody was lamenting we didn't get the turnout we wanted, or nobody showed up, with one exception. The one exception was Rockwall County. In Rockwall County, everywhere where they put a challenger in the race, They won every race by 20%.
That's outstanding.
Yes.
And so, having looked at these things, this is one of the reasons that Tennessee Firearms Association, and you can find us at www.tennesseefirearms.com, has decided to sponsor this event. And I want to make sure the folks understand it is not just for the candidates themselves, but for the people who want to find candidates, for people who want to learn how to win an election.
Yeah.
We joust all the time with the incumbents and the establishment in Tennessee who doesn't hear our cry, who doesn't care one whit whatsoever with what we think, even though our Constitution says that the people are supposed to instruct their representatives. Our folks are recalcitrant. They're not trained. They don't know how to go about this. And so, in my waning years, I've been going to the General Assembly for 25 years and walking those halls on my own dime and time. But I want to start having an effect for my grandchildren because I'm really concerned about them and I'm not going to be here forever.
Yep.
I think that your book, number one, and then the training that you can bring to us because you're a very effective speaker will be beneficial to everyone who wants to take back the promise of our original first rattle out of the box section of our Constitution that says all power is inherent in people and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of those ends, they have at all times an unalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper.
That's
But
right.
you got to get up off the couch and you got to be involved for that to be of benefit to everyone. We have the tools if we will but use them.
Well,
So
and so here's the thing. One of the things that they did was in the city where Dennis and Sherry live, they had the opportunity to create what's called a city charter. It's basically the constitution for a city. That passed, and Dennis was he was the vice chair of that committee that determined what would be in the charter. That passed 77 to 23. So now they have for their city, they're able to define what's allowable, what the government can't do, what the government is allowed to do, and the way in which they do it. And anyway, Dennis told me the next day after the election, I called him up after he had texted me and said, "Oh, we won." I said, "That's great." The next day I called him and said, "So how's it feel?" He said, "You know what? In a word, it's surreal because for the first time in my life, I wake up this morning and I'm not worried at all about the government that we have locally here because I know the people that we have in place. I know what they intend to do. I know that our charter is going to protect our freedoms." And he said, "I want to make this so that we have every race throughout our county in every position, conservatives who are going to do the right thing for the people." Anyway, he said, "This is just surreal. And I couldn't be more ecstatic today. And I'm at peace."
I'm hopeful that with the seminar that you're going to teach us, that we can all learn from that and we can be telling these same happy stories next fall after elections in Tennessee. So,
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I hear you have a horrible mayor in Nashville.
Not just Nashville. Well, I mean, he's standing in front of Ice and Patel trying to do their
Right,
job than Tom Homan. And by
right.
the way, Tom Homan liable to drag him out by his heels if he's not careful. And if he needs help, he can give me a call. I'll be more than glad because that's a pit up there. I can promise you. Brett, thank you for your time.
Yep.
Like I said, I want to do just a short intro to let people see you, to hear your voice, and to know what we're talking about. And hopefully they can go to the TFA website. They can also go to our channel on Twitter and on Facebook and find out the location, the time, and where they can RSVP and sign up to pay. It's just $10, and we're going to feed you some cookies and give you water, but we're going to fill your soul, if you will, just but show up. So
Amen.
thank you for your time. I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on.
God bless you, man. And I look forward to getting back to Tennessee.